So penguins are an interesting bird species for many different reasons, least of which one is that they are flightless but very effective swimmers. And you can see evidenced here by one Gen 2 penguin that they're very buoyant, and with little effort at all, they will just float and float and float. And so their wings are, well, no longer wings in the traditional sense of flying, but the way they are used underwater is just as though they were flying underwater. And their little feet are used as rudders to steer them. So not paddling with their feet in any sort of way, but using their feet to steer them as they swim through the water. Now you may be noticing here some different types of penguins. So right there we have a cold weather species on the left and a warmer weather type on the right. The right hand one is called the Humboldt penguin, named after Alexander von Humboldt, well, which the Humboldt Current is named after, and then these guys get their name from that. And so that is in South America off the coast of Chile or Peru. And then these are called Gen 2 penguins here. Gen 2, which are really the opposite of chinstrap penguins in terms of that white bit on their head. Yes, and that vocalization is of a Humboldt. They have a loud braying sound like that of a donkey. So there are other warmer weather penguin species. One South African penguin, which looks very similar to them and sounds the same, which is hence why they were originally called jackass penguins, referencing their sound of a donkey. So anyways, there's a few different types of banded penguins like the Humboldts, and you see that patch of pink skin on their face is how they regulate their temperature, as once again they live in warm climates, warm regions, whereas the Gen 2 penguins here would be found living in sub-Antarctic islands, areas like South Georgia, Falkland Islands, these different regions. I think sometimes maybe they're found in different peninsulas of Antarctica itself, but for the most part, it is mainly the emperor penguins that are truly living within Antarctica. These other cold weather species will be in sub-Antarctic islands. Now, in total, there are 18 different species of penguins. The king penguins here, they are outside today, enjoying cooler temperatures. And then the rockhopper penguins here as well. And there's also a number of different types of penguins. This family is called the crested family, which has the yellow feathers on their head. You may wonder why they will stand with their wings out like this. Penguins are so incredibly good at staying warm that even in an environment such as this, which is a very chilly 5 degrees Celsius, they can maybe find themselves too warm even in here. And so, opening up their wings like that is a way to regulate their temperature. Now, the second largest species is the king penguin. The first largest in the world is the emperor penguin, which looks very similar to king penguins, but are about a foot taller even than the king penguins and can weigh up to 100 pounds, if you can believe it. King penguins are about 25 to 30 pounds, and then these Gen 2 penguins here, I don't know, but if I had to guess, maybe 15 pounds or so. Well, what else can we say about penguins? And look at their eyesight. They have binocular vision, so that means they're able to look straight ahead. And good vision underwater, they say, can see even better underwater, which would make sense. And now here's some rockhopper penguins swimming. Would make sense because they get their food from the water. Penguins exist exclusively off of ocean food, eating different types of small sardine-sized fish, and it depends on the species and where their geographic range is, what types of fish they would be eating. But they can also eat small squid, cephalopods, and then different krill. I believe, if I remember correctly, Gen 2 penguins in the wild really enjoy and eat a lot of krill. So you can think about them in the wild as well in terms of conservation. When penguins are living distributed across the world in zoos, they're maintaining genetic diversity. So different penguins will reproduce and have chicks within zoo settings. And then those penguins will move to different zoos and so on and so forth. You end up with a robust population of genetically diverse penguins distributed throughout zoos in the world. Now, in the wild, living on islands, sub-Antarctic regions, Humboldts there don't necessarily live on islands, but anyways, island animals are, by their very nature, vulnerable to natural disasters, but of course now today vulnerable to anthropogenic issues. Overfishing of krill, for example, or other fish stocks in the Antarctic Southern Ocean can cause penguins to have to swim further out into the ocean to find food. Things like icebergs. If you think of the world's largest iceberg today is A23A, and it's something like 40 miles squared, I believe. So if that were to float up to one of the islands like South Georgia, where Gen 2 penguins are living, it could cause them to have to swim all the way around in search of their food. And so different factors like that can cause stress to different penguin populations. And you could imagine that if there was something serious to happen, like an entire fish stock being depleted, or those fish going further out away from land where the penguins live, and they're having to swim further and further and further out because of changing ocean temperatures, these sorts of factors could cause stress to penguin populations, and within just a few generations could have tremendous, or rather quick, declines in populations. So having penguins in zoos is a way to safeguard them against extinction. And we can think of another flightless bird, the penguin to originally be named penguin, which is the great auk. And that is a penguin that was, it was a penguin, but not related to penguins here. They're members of the auk family, but they were hunted to extinction. And the last one to live was in Iceland. And penguins here are very charismatic and cool birds. It would be a shame to lose them. So it is worth learning more about conservation efforts that aim to save penguins, worth visiting zoos that support penguin conservation, and as they're very enjoyable, interesting creatures, it is worthwhile to observe and learn about them as well. So thank you for watching this video. This has been filmed at the Calgary Zoo.